Director Emmy will be from the And then we have Christopher Star from MTPH. And then Harvey Javier from Squad 1 and Squad 3. Jen Vilama from Luxury Space. Lady Flores from YUG. This is our panel for tonight. And I would like to start this with, if I can ask the panel for a brief introduction about themselves and event we organized.
Okay, I'll go first. So I'm Jen from Blockchain Space. Hello. Hello. Okay. So hi everyone. Good evening. So I'm Jen from Blockchain Space. We're co-organizers of Philippine Web3 Festival, which we conducted last week together with Louis. Sorry, we couldn't hijack your introduction. We just organized one of the biggest crypto conference here in the Philippines. Last week, spanning 1 week, we had 3 day of main conference, and at the back of that, we had ASI Open Manila, which is one of the biggest land tournament in actually in Asia. In Asia. So yeah, together with YGG, we organized a tea festival.
Okay, so good evening everyone. My name is Harvey Javier. I'm the CTO of Sparkler EdTech, and I'm also representing SmartPoint. So they are one of the co-organizers of Bicol Blockchain Conference. So it's one of the biggest conference outside the metro, so countryside, about blockchain and Web3. So there's a lot of we have a lot of like diverse audience from the academe, government, MSMEs, and startups who are also interested in Web3. So that's it.
Good evening, everyone. Hello. I'm Emmy. So I'm from the government. So I'm from the Department of Information and Communications Technology. I know too many DICTs. One of the DICT's mandates is actually ensuring the growth and competitiveness of the ICT industry that will result in the creation of more jobs. So basically, my bureau, so I have the ICT Industry Development Bureau. So we organized the Global Blockchain Summit in Bataan. Basically, of course, to promote the growth and development and competitiveness of the blockchain space, Web3 space. So that's why we're here today. And thanks also to our partners. Of course, all of them were part of that. And so we're here to continue to support the industry. So, happy to be here and thanks for the invitation.
Hi guys, my name is Christopher Star from Marketing and the Director at Green Token, but I'm also one of those who organize Web3PH and Web3PH Summit. We're basically advocating Web3 education and application in the Philippines, and just want to recognize Sinead here is also one of my co-organizers. He's also the managing director at DevCon, which happened last week as well during the Philippine Startup Week. And also some of our volunteers are here. So just want to shout out the community and of course Celine and the DSH family for because we hosted it here. That the summit actually happened here. Philippine Wedding Festival is our sponsor. So it's pretty momentous to be here and sharing the stage with everyone. Thank you.
So I forgot that Miss Emmy was gonna be in the panel with us. I'm super not sober right now. So yeah, I probably should have taken this one. Anyway, I'm gonna try to behave myself during this panel. Jen already said kind of most of it naman. I think for us it was just very it was kind of a momentous occasion to finally be able to do the festival. It was something I think that was called a combination of everything that we've really wanted to do over the last couple of years, and the pandemic was just kind of preventing us from having a physical event. We believe that the Philippines is at the center of Web3 innovation, and I'm sure we'll talk in more detail about this later. I'm gonna try to like sober up as we're
Water, please, water.
yeah, I have it. It's right here. Sorry.
Thank you so much for the panel for those answers. So I believe we were also there in on those events. So I was in Bicol. And then there was also yes, and then also in the Weather Festival, and then I was not there in the global launches, and but our reporters were there. I was sick during Web 3 page summit, so but yeah, thanks so much for organizing all those events, and now we're coordinating it and discussing all of that here. I guess my first question, we started it with Jen. What was but yeah, how it started and what was the motivation for organizing the Web 3 festival? So anything that Felice has to say?
Um, well, we usually attend crypto conferences outside. So there were two things. The first one is because of the pandemic, a lot of events were kind of postponed, right? Not just here in the Philippines, but globally. But during the pandemic, the crypto community here in the Philippines really grew. So and a lot, so that's one, right? The crypto community here adoption was really facilitated or really grew during the pandemic. Second, when we started attending conferences outside the country, so when we're able na, consensus, Japan blockchain week, Korean blockchain week, when we talk to GameFi projects, they usually tell us, oh, we have a big community in the Philippines. We're just finding a reason to visit. And sabi namin, we should probably give them a reason why, no? So, because we keep on seeing that again and again. And then sabi namin, we have a big enough community to invite the foreign creators or builders to meet and mingle with founders here. So there's like knowledge transfer. And at the same time, for them to meet their community so that therefore you inspire more people to be part of the space. So those were two, and obviously we want to highlight the Philippines that we're at the epicenter of Web3 adoption. So true enough, in a short amount of time, I think Luis can attest to that. We joined forces within our ecosystem and the blockchain spaces ecosystem and YGG's ecosystem to bring all of the entry rate, founders and even foreigners to get to know the ecosystem here. Actually, I was just looking at the stats. We had about 700 companies represented. We had about 2,100 participants, 600 VIPs, quite a big number, 570 VIPs. So it was a good way for us to introduce the Philippines to the world. So I think you should, yeah.
Oh, okay. Gosh, I mean, she had numbers.
Okay.
Okay.
I was looking at it this morning.
That's okay. Yeah, see, that's not fair. Like, I spent the last 4 days still kind of cleaning up. Like, there was still quite a lot of post-event
Yeah.
stuff that we were still kind of working on, even until now. And I think that's maybe a testament to how big the thing was. That it takes nearly like well over a week where we will have to go back to all of those sponsors, all of those partners, actually like let them know how it all went. But I think on the ground, it definitely felt like a couple of things feedback that I can share. First, and you can take this the way you want, but a lot of the foreigners who were coming in, they would tell us like, "Wow, I'm really surprised. This is a really good conference."
Yes.
And I'm like, surprised is not the word that I was hoping for. But I was like, what were you expecting? Was it going to be crappy? And then in the tournament naman, actually Open Manila tournament, the foreign players were telling us that this was the most well-organized tournament that ever played in, including AxiCon, the official one in Barcelona. So, I mean, that felt really great for us because we spent basically 3 weeks putting it together. It was like the tightest production schedule we've ever done. And we were run purely through volunteers. We had maybe about 50 or 60 people on site for 3 days straight. Some of them were not going home just to make sure that everything was happening, kind of smoothly. And to me, that was a real testament to how passionate and committed the community is. Like, ayaw natin mapahiya. We wanted to do something that was really memorable. And it made us feel really great, no? To get that kind of feedback from people who had attended similar events in other countries. And they came into the Philippines not knowing what to expect. Other than the traffic, everything else was great. So that was great. Like, it made me feel good. Like, we were kind of very, very deeply competitive.
Congratulations again to PH. And I remember your Facebook post about yung mga microphones from different stations. And you look like bass or I guess not right.
So a People Blockchain Conference naman, it all started nung 2019, I think 2018, when we are conducting meetups pa lang, we call blockchain meetup in co-working space, Control at Work. And shout out to Ismael, isa siya sa mga co-organizers ko pag ano kami ng mga meetups. Organized din by Nicole IT. And yun, yung mga early days ni SparkPoint. So, shout out din to Sir Colin for putting yung Bicol Blockchain Meetup 0x2 sa slides niya sa page ng Fest. So it all started there, a small community in Web3. Around 10 to 20 ang nag-attend. And up to yun, we were recognized by one of the government agencies there, CTI. And yun, we partnered and yun, we have this consensus na we have a conference about blockchain naman. Then we talked with other startups na Bicolana rin and pero outside Bicol sila. And other countryside na Web3 startups built outside the metro. So yun din yung focus namin na syempre not only in Manila ang mga builders ng Web3 but also outside Manila. So Philippines is a big country. So not just in Manila yung mga builders, meron din mga Web3 builders talaga. Countryside. Also there's Visayas, Mindanao, and there's a wide variety of builders in the Philippines.
Congratulations to Bicol. I was there and it has been very good and developer-centric. The community there is very daming developers in that particular conference. So yeah, and by next year, maybe I just guess for BBC then. So
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay.
So what's the motivation? So I mentioned earlier that we've been supporting, promoting, developing the ICT industry. In fact, for many years or more than a decade, we've been supporting, working with the BPO industry for many years. So, and then eventually, because of the online freelancing industry, so those are the different industries that have been supporting, implementing programs with major associations. And then 2 years ago, I got invited to be one of the 10 women in blockchain. Initially, I said no because I'm not an expert in blockchain. On the other hand, I thought, okay, yes, I can be part of that. So what will be my role? I think I can do some advocacy work, being an enabler in government. So that's when I started helping promote the blockchain industry. And then last year, left and right, a lot of companies, blockchain companies, approaching us, asking for support and asking their companies for the ICT to promote. And so a few months ago, several companies actually went to our office, had a meeting with us, particularly the AFAB, the Imperial Group that's the Freeport area of Bataan. Because you know that Bataan has been actually declared as a blockchain city because they've been hosting emerging tech like blockchain AI companies for incentives, right? And then so we started conceptualizing the the conduct of the first ever Global Blockchain Summit in Bataan. And that also, the government, the local government unit there, the Garcias, so the governor, the congressman and the mayor, particularly the governor because he's one of the authors of the Innovative Startup Law. And so when we learned that we're going to bring the Global Blockchain Summit in Bataan and other partners, so he was very excited and interested. So initially we wanted to do it in just a small hotel. But when he learned, so you were there. It was actually ironic that I missed it. We've been planning, meeting a lot of partners, asking them on the content, but I missed the summit itself because I got COVID. Coming from another industry, I promoted the contact industry in Boracay, so when I arrived, I got COVID, so I missed it. But I'm actually very thankful for this two people, Carlos and Yana, who've actually been very active here together with the other partners. So that was actually why we conducted the Global Blockchain Summit in Bataan, basically to gather all the key players and stakeholders in our countries. And so YGG, Luis Jen, and Christopher, Melissa, they were all there promoting it because we want to tell the world that the Philippines can be a global leader in this blockchain in the Web3 space. And we want to continue to do that. So it was also good that because a lot of key players and stakeholders were there in Bataan, so the last day, all of those key players actually signed a solidarity statement of solidarity that all of them will work together in really pushing, promoting the blockchain industry in the country. And we're actually looking forward to having an organization because in government it's actually not easy for us to be dealing individually with companies. So as of course we want to encourage that there's an organization that will be one voice in terms of policy making, in terms of coming up with programs. So that's why we're here. So as much as possible, all of the different invitations you want to be there to really talk to the industry. And so all of our programs actually not only for the blockchain industry, but business BPO, it's always industry driven. We implement programs according to the needs of the industry. And of course for the blockchain industry, we want to do that as well.
Congratulations again to Global Blockchain Summit. So I was not there, but Filipinas supporters, Nathan and Sheila was there, and it just felt surreal to hear the government talking about it. I was at another event, the TOST event naman in Alabang, and I met their representatives there from the VICT. So medyo surreal lang, like people from Pag-asa, P-Box, they're talking about blockchain and have like blockchain projects then. So Chris.
So for us, it kind of started right after we launched the community on Facebook. We launched it during a meetup we called Crypto Day. And then after we did that, there were a couple of other companies that wanted to sponsor and do events. And then there were a lot of community members that were able to go because we only can accommodate so much. So we thought that since our mission is not just to educate, but also talk about use cases or applications. So when we think about how do we give opportunities to people, it has to be relevant to them. And I was sharing to them, to my co-admins on WebPage, because I have obviously, as you guys see, I'm wearing braces. So my dentist, when she found I was working on Web3 project, she started talking about NFTs and how she started making money on it and everything, which I'm happy to hear. But also at the same time, I wish that she knew that there's more than just buying and selling NFTs, right? And so when I shared to the group, we all agreed that there's an opportunity to probably have a conference. And so it was around May or June when we thought about it. And it was just really an idea, so I posted online, and we got so much feedback that like we like to help, we like to be part of it, we like to speak, we like to attend. And so we kind of decided that maybe there's really something here. And what we're really proud of is that Web3PH is a community-led, not just as a group, but even the event was community-led. So the idea is to inspire so that next year, it will be a series of different community events. Maybe next time we'll have a segment that just talks about like people, for example, and they'll be organizing it. But it's part of that. Rather than just one big event, it was also because you have to remember that when we conceptualized the idea, it was during the time that we're still restricted, that we can't have 100% people attending your event. So we were thinking that maybe we have to host this in multiple locations. But fast forward to what happened. Like there's so many things that went on in between that. We had like people wanting to partner with us and then had to like part ways as well. But we just pushed through because we thought that at the end of the day, what we're trying to bring is opportunities to people because we fortunately the admins are all working on a Web3 project or Web3 company. So we're very lucky to have that opportunity and like to think about how do you give that back to the people. So that was the idea, and that's why if you notice our summit was talking about more of different industries, not just one industry, because we think, let's say, if you're a freelancer, is this relevant to you? If you're a dentist, if you're a lawyer, is this relevant to you? If you're a gamer, is it relevant to you? So that was kind of like the inspiration why it is the way it is, and how we manage the whole conference. And we don't even want to call it a conference. I think it was partly because we want to see it more as a series of community events. Though honestly, it wasn't achieved, but you guys probably don't know that. But we really wanted that next year, hopefully that majority of that whole event is really organized also by the community itself.
Thank you so much, Lisa, and congratulations to Web. And then we also organized a number of side events then for Web3 Festival, right? And this is part of the next question. Um, what were the challenges before the event itself, and before and during the event itself, and how are you able to like overcome them, and or how did you prevail, or at least put that under control? So, Luis, let's start.
Oh, okay, sure. Sige. I guess I won't name names, no? I'll just say that there was a lot of crying, there was a lot of shouting, there was a lot of debating, the amount of drama that was inherent in all of this. Like, by the way, I should also mention that, any event of this size typically requires about 6 to 9 months of preparation. We had 3. So yeah, yeah, you're right. It was actually less than 3 months. So like it was the most compressed kind of timeline you could ever expect. And as you can probably imagine, a lot of members were very afraid towards the end of it. Actually, umpisa pa lang, I was kind of afraid already. So but it was and I say this with all the love in my heart now, because we were able to get through it. But yeah, the kind of drama that was necessary in order to get to this point, like I don't think we're ever gonna. We could write a book about it, but then we'd have to like erase all the names because then it would be meaningless. We had problems on every level. It was like every level you could think of, Murphy's Law talaga. No? So parang from the venue, to the sponsors, to every possible challenge you could come up with, like there was something. And I guess it was a testament again to like how maybe the team was like we understood what was at stake. No, because this is the Philippines' first time to really invite this many people from overseas to come here, and they were paying for their tickets. We were not paying for anyone's tickets to come to the Philippines. Even our speakers had to pay their own way to get here. So for us to then show them a crappy conference that was poorly organized and poorly executed, that was like we're never gonna come back, right? So to us, it was like this was make or break. And yeah, so it was like it broke some of us. but we made it. Sorry. Yeah, we made it work. Sorry. Back me, as we say in the crypto world. So yeah, we're okay. Like mentally, I'm back. I feel like I had a minor
That's why
break.
you're drinking again.
Oh, I feel like I had a minor breakdown in the last couple of days. But yeah, it was a real experience. I think that when we try this again next year, we'll probably have a little bit more prep time. Prep time will go a long way.
Okay, let me just add to what Luis mentioned. The flip side of it. So on paper, it should not have worked, right? So I was just reflecting this on a couple of, after the festival. You're given like less than 3 months. You have 2 organizations, first time working with each other. Usually you have like at least 50 or 60 people working on a conference this size. Working with like 6, 10 each, so 20 home team. And then we also have other projects ongoing, so we still have our day-to-day operations. So it should, on paper, it should not have worked, right? But we put all of the resources and heart and poured our heart and soul into it because we knew that it would be the first time that we'll represent the Philippines at this game, right? So you have all of well, majority of the big guys there. You have Yaxway from Animoca Flying, you have Crypto.com Capital, you have CoinGecko, the founders of CoinGecko, you have Jiho, all of VCs, we brought in VCs, and we're also curating it such that they have a good experience, experience of the Philippines, right? Because this is the first time you're showcasing Filipino talent in the community. So we had to make sure that the conference and the agenda is such that people are really interested to listen in. And at the same time, the side events that really makes a crypto conference alive as well. So a lot of things happen. I mean, Luis, we have like weekly meetings. It kind of put us in a close relationship with each side. Because we're all guided by that one goal, right? So everything could you only have 2.5 months, 3 months to prepare. So obviously, venue restricted to the venues. That's logistics. You're restricted also with the sponsors. But we were able to sell out. So sold out yung exhibitors area namin, which is good. You also have a problem with communicating with the speakers, tickets. So everything because of the time restriction made it much more complex and to organization. But I think we just all were guided by this mission that we need to make this the best one. And hopefully we did.
This is Pilipinas article worthy.
Don't mention the crying part.
Dalawa lang naman. On our side.
But yeah, from the observers and the outsiders' point of view, guys, we are media partners for Asia Trade Fest. I guess he had it under control. Kasi hindi siya visible. And then whatever those
That's
things
a
are.
joke, Keep it low.
Yeah, so congratulations, guys.
Backstage kami media.
And then, yeah, Harvey.
Okay, so sa amin naman, I share the same experience with Sir Luis and Miss Jen, PH Web 3 Fest. We also have very few prep time. So since yun, like I mentioned earlier, we started as we conducting small events, 10 to 20. But here, it's a lot, I think 300 or more. Not enough number compared pa rin kay PH Web 3 Fest, but yeah, it's countryside. Pero yun, the prep time and medyo naging magulo din yung sa organizers, yung sa pag-delegate ng tasks, and yun, sa speakers, and yung sa website, isa ako sa nagpo-push na doon kasi yung devs medyo hindi naging available since weekend din. They're probably resting din naman. And yun, sa at least na na-solve naman. And before the event, isa rin ako sa naging logistics, nagsundo sa mga speakers. Also, I'm one of the speakers din yung event. Naging all around eh. And naging technical. So, shout out din to Chan, one of my developers na on the spot, siya yung nag-operate and nag-set up sa OBS in around 5 minutes. So, hardcore developer and technical na rin sa mga slideshows, ganyan. And yun, so far, we ran the event smoothly. And there, maraming umattend, not just in Albay, but all the provinces in Bicol, from Sur, from Norte, Antuanes, wide audiences, wide variety of audiences, from MSMEs, startups, government, students, not just in tech, but more on in the business side. They are very interested in blockchain and Web3. So,
Thank you so much, Barbie. And I was there at that particular event sa Bicol Blockchain. And I can say that it was actually a well-curated event kasi from the topics of the speakers, it started with the history of money. So when crypto,
Transition.
the transition of the speakers, then start with blockchain and then the history of crypto PH and then blockchain applications. It's actually a well-curated event. And people, if you start from kung nagsimula kang manood in the beginning, you actually learn everything. So congratulations, guys. Correct.
So in the case of the conduct of GPS, I think we have had very few challenges. One is that, so we had a co-organizer, an event management company. Of course, you know the motivation. Initially, they wanted to have more speakers as sponsors, and they wanted to invite more sponsors. And it's a two-day event, and from I think 6 panel sessions. So how can you come up with, how can you make sure that the 6 panel sessions will be enough for one day? So that was one of the challenges. So I said that, okay, if you want to partner with us, we have to make sure that this summit is not sales pitch from the sponsors, because we have to make sure that the content should be relevant for our participants. So what I did was actually we intervened. We actually revised the entire content for 2 days, and we made sure that the objectives, because one objective is make sure that, so it's an advocacy thing. Almost of the participants, it was the first time for them to hear about the blockchain industry. And so from the government, from the local government units, from the academy. So that was one of the challenges. Of course, we're friends naman with the organizer. And I said, you cannot charge because it's government's money. So the participants should not be charged. We'll take care of their food and we'll take care of the food and venue. And another thing was that even the speakers, they have to take care of their own transport and accommodation. And then we said, no, you cannot just do that. So what we did was, of course, again, to intervene. And so we have to make sure that we have to take care of the transportation from Manila to Bataan and going back to to Manila and taking care of their accommodation. So otherwise, I think it went well. Although some of the speakers, I think they confirmed very late, and we invited some government agencies, particularly those from the regulatory agencies, but understandably they're also very busy. So we actually removed that panel because we wanted to invite PSP, DOF, and SEC. SEC was there, right? But yeah, it was, I think, it's poor thing that I missed it. But I saw the I don't know, naman siya, live stream. So, and it was attended by at least 500 participants. And we also added another side event, which was actually big eskwela, because the governor asked for a blockchain 101 for the students. So it was attended by 500 students from Bataan. Of course, it was really great that they learned about the basics of blockchain. Other challenges? Meron pa ba, Carlos?
Oo naman. Parang I empathize with Jen kasi nung nakita ko siya ng Webkin Festival, sabi ko, that was me a week ago.
Yeah, we should invite Carlos here because he's really the one who really worked hard for this.
Challenges. So coming from the Global Blockchain Summit, the first challenge was I was in Bataan a day before our summit. I was so damn tired the next day. But quite frankly, one of the challenges for us was money because we were all volunteers. Obviously, none of us would like to foot the bill. So we were trying to look for a partner that's willing to foot the bill. The first thing that you would need for an event is venue, right? So no venue would work really without money. So that was a very first challenge for us. We scouted all these hotels, we scouted different co-working spaces, etc. That could fit the number of people that we were eyeing for, and that was a challenge. Um, but we're lucky to be partners with Draper Startup House. Honestly, it wouldn't have been possible if they agreed with deal with us and just making it happen just because they also believe in the mission and also they become the Web3 hub by default, right? Like everyone's like Web3 is just automatically ESH, right? Yeah, thank you so much for the next challenge for us is that all the admins are full-time working for our own projects. Most of us are new to our roles. For example, Lance and Yuna from Archipelago Labs just launched Archipelago Labs 2 weeks ago, right? So you can just imagine that we don't really have enough time. So we literally only have 1 hour per week. Half of that is cheat, like one. The other half of that is the planning. That was very difficult. So a lot of the conversations just happening through Telegram or Messenger. It was very difficult to coordinate and also give tasks to each other. Working with, like what Jen said earlier, it's our first time, though I've been friends with all of them. We're all community builders from our previous lives, but it was still very difficult to work with one another for the first time. At the same time, we all have full-time jobs, so that was very difficult. The next part that was a challenge for us, I think after we've solved the venue, we were so surprised with the support that we got, especially with YG and blockchain space support to us, because we also knew that they were working on their own project, and we've discussed it. You know, it's gonna happen 2 weeks after us, but because we were doing it for a community, like we just literally asked everyone, like, hey, you guys want to support us and all that, and so we were very lucky to have partners like the Philippine Web3 Festival supporting us, because otherwise we would have had venues, but we wouldn't have any budget to do anything else. And our goal was not to make money because we're also all volunteers. Our goal was to raise money so we have more funds for next year. So that next year, whoever takes the reign and do Web3 Summit, whether it's us or our new volunteers, they have something to start with, which we didn't have this year. I think during the event, our biggest challenge was the weather. That was insane. There was a storm, and it was the height of the storm the next day. So, well, we didn't cry. I feel like we should have done it. But we were we were like, oh my god, like 7 a.m. We're like, should we do this? And we were on panic. Honestly, I feel like the DSH team was harassed by us. We're like, should we just cancel it? Can you just cancel it? Can we just do this? Can we do that? And we were so overwhelmed with number one, the support of the volunteers. The majority of them are students. All the speakers, majority of the speakers, not all obviously, but majority of them said that they're coming. And more so the attendees. We were so ready to just live stream everything with one or two or nobody on the audience. We were just like, anyway, they're coming, let's just go ahead and do it. We're so surprised, we're still full house. I feel like that was the biggest challenge because that's something we can't really prepare. All the money issue, venue issues. One of the challenges also we had with DSH is that we wanted a lot of people, but we can't fit everyone here. And we knew that people would feel bad if they won't be able to make it, which is why part of the design was really to make it different topics. So if you're into gaming, there's one for you, but we also kind of expect them not to stay on, which is kind of hard because a lot of people are like, but usually you buy one ticket to access everything. Honestly, L is one of the reasons why we have an all access. So a few days before, we were really strict on like just selling tickets per event, and he's like, "I'm from Batangas. I'm actually staying in Manila just for this, so it would be a bummer if I'm just going to one event. I really want to go to all events, but like you can't fit everyone." And so we decided to have some all access passes, which like sold out quickly, and then yeah, so there were some logistics problems. But I think what made it easy for us was number one, all my co-admins was super amazing. We all had community backgrounds in the past life. I'm usually like, I panic, like I'm the first one to panic. So they were all like calm and like, it's okay, you can make it. And then also our volunteers, like Chino is here. like they really made it all happen. We didn't give them enough instructions as well because they were onboarded like a few weeks before the event. So a lot of them just made things happen. So yeah, so those were the challenges, but I feel like what I'm more keen to like highlight were actually the team and how we kind of went through all those challenges.
Congratulations again to everyone. Nakikita ko nga, no, for us, for example, we organize also some events there, but not at that scale. And I can just realize that we have been able to your situations, and I heard, diba, we went to fest, there are a lot of companies there. So, um, so yeah, I guess this question is specific to Web3 Fest, because blockchain and the side events it remain. Um, how did you specifically the news cycle at that time was about FTX, right? So sorry. um, but how did you navigate this particular news cycle concerning FTX? And did it affect, number one, sponsorship and the panel discussions, and the general mood, and how what did you do about it?
Okay. All right. Well, I should mention that by the time that the FTX controversy had happened, the tickets had already been paid for. So the conference could not, like, they're not going to ask for refunds just because FTX collapsed. No? So the only thing we really needed to do was make sure that it was not ignored, because it was too big a piece of news. Like, honestly, even if we were a mainstream financial conference, we would probably have still had to talk about FTX because it was such a massive controversy. So you could not do a crypto conference. You probably can't do a crypto conference for the rest of this year without at least acknowledging FTX. No? So for us, it was more of a very quick, parang, I think that was maybe like 2 or 3 days before the conference itself started, where we just kind of did this thing where, okay, is there any session that we can dedicate to FTX? Or is there any way that we can at least work it into the open remarks or something like that? Because honestly, you would look stupid if you didn't at least acknowledge it. No? And we did end up dedicating one of the sessions to it. But at the same time, FTX is, certainly it is a large part of the crypto world, but it is not the only part of the crypto world. So it would be weird naman again if we basically dedicated multiple sessions to that, because Web3 and FTX, there's a relation there, but it's not the end all and be all of the metaverse. No? I mean, FTX is just an exchange. I guess you could argue that it's also kind of pretty deeply ingrained in Solana and some other stuff, but if the crypto world was small enough that one brand's collapse could take everything down, then we probably wouldn't be sitting here right now, right? The fact that we are still here and we're still talking about it on hindsight means that we are at least bigger than that. So that's a good sign. It's kind of like in 2013 to 2014 when Mt. Gox collapsed. For a lot of the Bitcoin world, a lot of people thought that that was it for crypto. It wasn't. It was just one. It just happened to be one of the largest brands at the time. So, parang, but in terms of the impact of FTX, yeah, we're still gonna feel this for sure. And I'm sure that if we do another meetup, maybe a month from now or maybe in January, we'll probably still be talking about some of its impact because it's a domino effect down the industry. But at the same time, it's not the only thing, right? And there's still other stuff out there. Thank God that we can look forward to.
I think, yeah, so one of the things that we were kind of discussing internally prior to the event, given that given the FTX collapse, was how much time and who should be the right people talking about it. Because everyone will have an opinion about FTX. So I mean, okay, we have to address it, it's big enough to be addressed, but let's not make it the central theme and override whatever it is that we're celebrating or showcasing, which is GameFi, creators as well, right? So we did address it during one of the central exchange panels with EDAX, Coins, Binance, and all those guys. But I think in terms of a tangible impact, in terms of the event, we did have some investors, VCs, who pulled out about 2 days before because they had portfolio companies that they had to address, right? So we had 2 that unfortunately cannot go because they have several portcos that are affected, even their funds, right? So some VCs, not our VCs, but they do have some. We've heard some VCs that some of their funds were locked sa FTX. But overall, I think and in the Philippines, hindi ganun kalaki yung adoption of FTX. We're still primarily Binance. So the impact is not as big as other countries. Kasi other countries ban and Binance, so people are using FTX, right? So the impact here is not as big as other. I think Singapore has a much bigger impact than us. So we adjusted, but in terms of us steering the conversation, addressing it, but steering the conversation and highlighting what we really intend to highlight is Philippine web adoption. That's what we did.
Thank you so much. No? And just to add to that, it was actually our panel with Colin, with Beryl, YDG, and Ramon of Bloom that discussed the MTM. So I received the email the night before that we are going to change it because if we're not going to do it at the beginning of the festival, every panel will be about the MTX issue. So but it turned out really well, and we handled a bit, but Colin and very late had a lot to say about it. So yeah, and then Chris and Harvey. Yeah.
Okay, regarding kay FTX naman, so far, the Core Blockchain Conference is, with regards sa funds, di naman affected kasi wala naman kaming investors. Ay, meron pero mga hindi yung backed by FTX, and yun, we partnered in with DTI. So talagang yun, like sabi ni Ma'am earlier, since there is government involved, we didn't issue tickets. So we have enough funding. Also, mostly mga bootstrap startups din in the countryside ang na tulong-tulong din sa funds. Also with regards sa topic naman sa FTX, di rin naman namin gaano na-discuss kasi yun, na-plan ahead naman namin yung topics and together with the speakers. Pero I think na-mention siya nung sa panel, pero kumbaga pahapiaw lang, hindi naman totally nag-focus doon. And also nung after nung may mga 5-minute break, kumbaga after end ng every speakers, may chance mag-networking, syempre. Nakahalubilo ko rin yung diverse audience doon, naka-network din. And talagang makikita ko yung ibang bago pa lang sa space, talaga ng idea. Also makikita ko rin yung sino yung up-to-date, yun. What are your thoughts now with regards to FTX and other issues in the space? Pero yun, bottom line, not much. Siguro affected lang ako kasi I'm looking at the coin market cap talaga. Red lahat. Kasi dahil nga sa FTX fiasco. So, yun.
Thank you, Harvey. By the way, did you guys invite that SPF to the to the festival?
We didn't. But FTX, we could have invited them. I think we actually tried, but we don't know. There you go.
There you go. Well, the funds are safe.
Okay.
But yeah, we could have, but they're not. I think there were a lot of. So we did invite all of our VCs, and Alameda was one of our seed round investors. But they're not. They haven't been checking up on us for like 2-3 months.
And now they never will.
Chris, I believe you organized a lot of side events during the festival.
Yes.
So was that what was this discussion? Was
I
it
think it helped get people drunk. Because I feel like some of them, because I overheard a lot of people talk about it, obviously. It was like the joke of the night for most people. We kind of incorporated it on human bingos that we posted. So if those who don't know, human bingos, like look for someone who lost money on FTX, things like that. So we actually incorporated it.
Yeah, that's what we said.
But yeah, so it wasn't really a big hit like what Jen mentioned. I think locally it really isn't. And I also overheard some talk about like, the foreigners talk about how the sentiment outside the Philippines is very different. When they came to the festival, they was like so surprised because it was very positive. Everyone's just having fun. That's what I overheard from people during the events. Not just side events, I think the VIP dinner I attended hosted by the festival. That was kind of the sentiment. It's like, okay, outside of Philippines, it's kind of different, gloomy, as Jen mentioned, like countries like Singapore, badly affected. As mentioned, all of these foreign guests, whether investors or builders, are from those countries. So coming in here, they had that expectation that it's going to be gloomy or something. But they were quite surprised with how happy we were, given that as pointed out by Arby, like everything's red, but still we're like happy and getting drunk. So yeah, it wasn't really bad. We weren't really affected. Okay.
So thank you so much for those answers. No, I'm glad that everything went well. I had this particular recording with Philippine Startup Week. So it was recorded October 30. So I was with Alvin in that particular panel, and it would air on November 18. So matagal. So at that time, the MTX happened. So I was just thinking, did you mention anything about SPF, or did you mention about going to MTX and all that? So ganun nawala na ganun nangyari. So I guess the next question here is, I know that your events just ended, but onwards to next year, how are you guys going to improve that event? How are you going to make it bigger? That is the goal. So the question, anyone can start first. I think talaga.
Okay, so the Global Blockchain Summit is just one of the components of our intervention. We are implementing a program called SETPH, Stimulating the Growth of Emerging Technologies in the Philippines, basically to help promote, develop the blockchain space and the Web3. No? So in that particular program, there are four actually components or interventions. One is institutional development, basically to help, of course, develop the ecosystem. And then we also have our marketing and promotion because we want to continue helping the industry promote the industry. Then we also have research. So if we want to have like white papers, and if possible, if the industry, the players would like to have like one Philippine blockchain program for the industry, of course, we're willing to support that. And what's the last one? Institutional development. So talent development. So what we'd like to find out is that what are the upskilling and reskilling needs to be able to help provide for the industry. So those are the different components of the ZPH. And then we're also implementing a program called Tech Trends. So it's an online free self-development program, and we have identified several emerging tech, and one is blockchain. So it's an ongoing initiative. It's for free. So we have, for example, blockchain basic, then we have intermediate and advanced. So we also invite as experts in the blockchain space. And we're also implementing, because one of the key agencies in the implementation of the innovative startup law is TICT together with DTI and USD. And in the next few days, actually we've already announced that for those startups that are into blockchain, we will be issuing grant funds for them. So if they want to avail of those grant fund, so soon, tomorrow in the next few days, we're going to release how they can actually apply. So from 500,000 to 1 million, at least MVP level. So there. So in terms of yes, we will definitely continue to have that annual Global Blockchain Summit. Our secretary actually committed to the governor of Bataan that in the next years we're going to hold it in Bataan, but of course much bigger. Of course, more relevant topics, more speakers from international and global speakers and experts, and of course more participants from different parts of the country.
Thank you so much, Director Lenny. And I would like to bring back what you mentioned about the DICT grants, especially that I know there are a lot of founders here, and we are at the bear market side here. So these are things that will definitely help us. So I guess it will be announced on the Facebook page of the ICT, right?
Yes.
So, Arby.
Okay, so yun, organizing an event is not that easy. Talagang may mga shortcomings. So, yun, ang plan namin for our next events, Bicol, yun, improve yung mga shortcomings namin, yung preparations, and also sa venue, since yun, medyo nahirapan din kami sa paghanap ng venue kasi almost yung iba talagang ano na, jump pack na. And sa pag-invite din ng mga government officials, we invited kaso weeks before. So, could have been months before kasi syempre nakamark na yung calendars nila for other commitments. Also, yun, our Bicol Blockchain Conference was a one-day event. We're planning to make it gaya ni Web3 Fest to probably a week. And yun, bigger audience to probably kasi 300 yung sa BBC. So, I think more than 300. And I hope din na we can match din level ni PH Web3 Fest na we can onboard global Web3 companies bilang sa Bicol, pero yun, on a global scale. So, yun.
Thank you so much, Harvey. And then Chris,
So one is that we're trying to onboard more volunteers, and we're trying to onboard some of our volunteers to become the leaders of WebPH, and hoping that they'll be taking on the role to actually co-organize the next one. So we're already in the early planning stage. We just literally onboarded some of our new leaders, as we call them. So they're all volunteers. We were quite surprised. The majority of them are students or just graduated, but apparently some of them are whales, some of them are mods of different projects. So we're very excited we're able to give that opportunity to them. So yeah, we're already at the planning stage. We haven't really thought of where to do it yet, when to do it. Hopefully, it could also last for at least a week. But also part of what I really want to do, I guess this is a great opportunity that we're here. Because I'm also a mentor at Google, and so usually I think every 4 years or so we do the ecosystem mapping. And one of the key challenge for the startup ecosystem, and I feel it's happening in Web3, is calendar, a shared calendar, so that we don't do things almost at the same time. So like I said, like the Global Blockchain Summit was a day before us. It was very challenging. I'm like, I don't want to go, but like because of like the advocacy of the ICT is something that we believe in, we wanted to support. Also, like actually, we had early talks with Luis also about the timing for us. It was also a bit challenging to be like 2 weeks apart because obviously that was a challenge in terms of sponsorship because they'll be like, oh, should I sponsor a smaller event or a bigger event, right? So hopefully, like next year, we'll be able to hopefully have those spacing. And I think the audiences are very different. And I think it's better to have a full force on all of these events. I would love to go to BBC actually. I'm planning to do a serial entrepreneurs institute in January. Was also organized by the community. So we're hoping that we'll be able to attend and also support the same way that they have supported us, right? But it's very difficult. Like honestly, I was more tired during the Philippine Wealthy Festival because every day I'm like traveling, going to the conference, meeting people. Like I'm still tired till now. You can just imagine for Luis and Jan and their team, no? But I was even noticing at Jen's like she's opening the event. Tapos I'll see her backstage, like calling the shots. And I'll see her on the panel at the polar bear. Parang, very typical eh. Diba? Lahat tayo parang kami din yung sa banner, kami din yung social media, like lahat talaga you have to make it happen. But I'm super happy that this is happening because I've been in the industry for quite some time. I've been attending like blockchain events way back. And this is really the first time I feel like there's actually local players of organizing because the previous blockchain events in the past were mostly like Chinese companies sponsoring here. It was early days way back when blockchain space was inside Accelerate and everything. So very different. Like usually I go to a blockchain summit event, Luis would be a speaker, and then the next guy would be Chinese, and then we speaking Chinese the whole time. They're like, what the hell is he talking about? At least now I get to understand what everyone's talking about. And you get to see builders that because back then it's Luis and a couple of other people, and it's still like I joke now with Peter, like last time I saw him, the first time I saw him since the pandemic, I'm like, so different now, no? Like everyone's building and everyone's doing something exciting. Back then, parang everyone's a scammer. Parang everyone's selling you their ICO and everything. Parang now everyone's doing building. So yeah, so hopefully next year, the younger generation, I'm quite old, so hopefully the younger generation will push forward with the summit, and I'm very excited also with their ideas on how they're gonna do it. Maybe slightly different this next coming year.
Thank you so much, Chris, for that. And you mentioned something about the events calendar, which is something that we have in Pilipinas. But it is like a public calendar, so everything that is already announced and for the public. So wala may invite only, and then but siguro una-unahan nila but particular one, you know. And yeah, and then Luis and Jen.
So I'm actually of two minds about this whole thing because I feel like there's space for a couple. Kahit magkabanggaan yung two large events, as we're about to see now. No? But like I forgot, we never really acknowledged that there's another major blockchain event literally a week from now. No? And we were kind of worried that that was going to cause some kind of conflict. I think what we've shown is that the industry is large enough for at least a couple of these, even back to back. I guess technically it's back to back, to back, to back. Because like there's also a Philippine Startup Week that happened at the same time as ours. And so, and then sorry, before that there was Philippine FinTech Festival, leading into the Singapore FinTech Festival, right? So that was all in the same 6 week cycle. So I mean, I think we should at least be grateful that it is big enough for all of those things. I mean, granted, it would be great if we could work together a little bit more closely. But then, I guess there's a part of me that likes the idea that we're still decentralized in that sense. Now, you know, like there are different groups, there are different priorities. I think that, so I don't know this for a fact, but I fully expect that when I walk into the Philippine Blockchain Week next week, it will have a very different vibe as the festival. Because the festival was always meant to be more of a celebration. The blockchain week is definitely more professional in its kind of the vibe that it is exuding. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. No? So I like the idea that you can have a different like feel for all of these different things. All that being said, like I'm sure we could make our lives easier for each other if we weren't like doing it all at the same month. And it's not even because that's not me talking as an event organizer. That's me talking as an attendee. It's like we're just so tired. Yeah, and imagine if you were the media covering all of these events. So I guess what would I like next year? I'd like it to be a little bit more spread out. I guess that would be great. I like having all of these small ones too because I know the problem with doing a panel in front of whatever it is, 700 people or 1,000 people is I can't see their faces anymore. Like it's just a massive spotlight in your eyes and you can't see anyone's reactions. I like the small ones because like, you know, these intimate settings, because you can actually see when someone is about to echo you from the backstage. Na parang, okay, I'm gonna really let this guy have it. Also, I like the idea that the audience is still kind of able to interact. So I like big and small because it feels like that it reminds you that you're still part of a community. But faceless crowd, because you have this tendency to just kind of forget that they're even there. So you're just trying to do your thing as a speaker. So yeah, so I like let's do all of it. Let's do all of it. I think that it's just big enough now. And also, I think having multiple events, maybe back to back to back, is also going to be a good reminder for everyone because I don't really think the crypto winter is going to end. Not next year. So it feels like I would have thought that it would be quicker than this, but then the FTX thing happened and I'll have to recalibrate. So I feel like 2023 is still going to be kind of a long winter. And we need these events to remind us that we're all still here. So I like having a lot of this.
I think you asked during one of our press conference, what's the difference between Debriefing Festival and Philippine Blockchain Week? And I think we're trying to, for us as well, and I'll echo what Luis mentioned, that it's all about, it's for the community, right? So the more that we can create and host events where people learn more about what we're doing. But we're still relatively small in terms of tech side of things and even awareness. Diba? So any event that will drive awareness and make people interested in what we're doing here in Web3, we're not just within our own echo chambers in terms of information and the people that we meet. That's good. Second, I think Luis and I were just talking about last week, like what would be like Web3 Festival 2023, right? Obviously, we put a good first Web3 Festival, made a good impression to our speakers and our sponsors. And all of them echo the same thing, which is, let's make this bigger next year. We were restricted with the venue, because again, plan is like 2 3 months. But a lot of our foreign delegates, they're very happy and they are keen to have a more, participate and have a booth next year, attend again next year. So that repeat and that feedback that they were like, oh, we're surprised. Wasn't surprised that Philippines can mount something like this. And they're quite surprised as well that we're more knowledgeable than other countries, right? So they were like, oh, I did not realize that Filipinos are very, very adept in crypto. The conversations are different compared to other Asian countries, which is very interesting because it gives you a perspective wherein we're really at the forefront of everything. And they were saying that, again, hospitality, right? We're very hospitable. We're very warm people, right? So we tend to give a really good impression. And if you look at the Web3 Festival, there were like 40 side events, I think 45 side events happening that week. And then it extended to La Union. So it was just the whole community celebrating every day. And some of it we instigated, so we hosted, but about half of it were community led. So we want to have a repeat of that next year and make it bigger, so that we get more people in, and also exhibitors as well. So next year we'll sort out the calendar of events when we'll have it, but definitely we're looking at next year and making it bigger.
Alright, so I like the idea of having it something that's decentralized. So all the events is a reminder that it is still a decentralized community. And I've heard that people, Visayas, are planning like as a two blockchain week and a double blockchain week, and I'm sure you guys will be invited as speakers and all of that. So I wish about one whole blockchain week for the entire country, different places, not just in Luzon, and then kaya pang similar speakers in all the events.
They were planning to. But it's still, I heard from Jen and Luis that, yeah, you'd rather have it decentralized. Because, well, one of the mandates also of the ICT is countryside development. So bringing ICT opportunities to the countryside. So as much as possible, we want to do advocacy activities, no, programs outside of Metro Manila. And of course, we'd like to invite either we as your partner or us organizing or as your co-organizer. We'd love to do that. And in fact, we're already planning as NSC Carlos because we want to have that PH roadshows in different parts of the country. So yun.
Just like to add, so one of the things that we did for Web3 Festival was we sponsored watch parties outside Metro Manila. So we had 7 watch parties and we sponsored them, and then they gathered their community because we understand that not all of them will be able to travel in Manila, right? Some of them sa Cebu, we had one in Davao, Baguio, Cabanatuan, and Bicol, here at Farming Bicol, di ba? So we made sure that even though the central location of the conference is in Metro Manila, we make sure that the community outside of Metro Manila are also given the chance to experience this with us. No? So we sponsored 7 watch parties, and similar to our initiative as well, Blockchain Space, we visited Bicol, hosted a meetup, Web3 meetup there. So we recognize that it's not just in Metro Manila, and we are actively reaching out as well to other places. So that's how Web3 adoption starts here. FC Infinity did not start in adoption. It started in Kabanatuan, right? So it's about supporting these communities and understanding that talent is also there as a person.
And like the fact that after for example, the legal watch party, the next day they were for the president. So yeah, I guess this is the part of the event where we would like to ask questions from the audience. So is there any questions from you guys? Michael?
Hi everyone, my name is Michael Lance, the same name as our editor, Michael. Congratulations to each and every one of you having a very successful event in each and every events that you had. I know it's very hard, what you did. It's all about effort. I'm coming from a perspective of being a tech community leader. So we have developer and technology communities. Here, one of our leads as well is Mr. Joe Palala, community lead of Laravel Philippines. What we do is we organize events like seminars, workshops, hackathons, all of those. Now, coming from each and every one of you, you have having a very technical background. Should I say you are good developers, you are programmers, and so on. But the how events being organized or doing this activities is somewhat different from being technical. So I would just like to ask, what's your siguro, how did you adjust from being a technical person to an events organizer, and maybe any advice that you wish to impart for those who will love to organize events? So thank you and have a good evening.
Okay, I think I should go first. Based sa question ni Sir, pakaintindi ko how
Technical.
mga technical and to transition to an organizer. I think it perfectly fits me kasi I'm a developer and mahihayin talaga ako. I don't usually speak in large audiences. So, yun, I think as a developer, hindi lang nag-limit yung skill ko doon sa development. I think I have enough skill na rin doon. Kaya I am working my way para improve naman sarili ko outside my safe zone, which is yun, being developer. So yun, I do speaking engagements and yun, I co-organize events in Bicol, isa na ko si DBC. So yun, I don't limit myself in the safe zone. I go outside the box.
Thank you so much.
I have one really short one. I'll just repeat advice that was given to me before. I was also a developer for many years. And when you're a young developer, you typically tend to focus on yourself. You're trying to improve your skill set. You're trying to, become a better programmer. As you progress in life, what you tend to focus on next is you want to build a successful product. Right? So you work with a team, you work with maybe a project manager, some other developer, some other roles. And then you realize there that actually when you build a product, it's not just your skills as a developer that matters here. There are soft skills there because you have to work with a project manager, with maybe a client, with maybe these other folks. No? And then you start to realize actually me being, in my proverbial basement by myself, that doesn't really scale. Because if you want to make a successful product, you actually have to learn how to interact with other humans. The next step of that, for some people, not all, is you want to now deliver a successful company. And sometimes that is, the definition is very different for some people. Sometimes that means it's a company that is ready to be acquired by someone else. Maybe it's a company that is ready to receive investment. But that's the next stage in the sense that now, you really can't just be that guy in your proverbial basement, like staring at your monitor, because now you're talking to many other people that is completely external to your sphere. And that is a path that most developers will eventually go on. And there's very, very few developers that can just stay completely developers. You need these soft skills eventually. So what is the transition? In our case, kasi, it was more like, I guess, making this large event is kind of similar to delivering a successful company. In the sense that, you spend, it's quite short, no? You spend a few months building this thing, but at the end of it, what it was this massive experience that 2,000 plus people were all able to kind of enjoy. So it's kind of similar in that sense. Now you cannot just be that technical person anymore, and I think that's kind of the lesson in life in general. We start with these very specific focus areas, and then we realize that if you want to navigate this world, you do have to be a successful human being also. You have to actually be able to talk to people. And I feel like actually pabaliktad ako. Like I started life more as an extrovert, and as I get older, I become more and more introverted. Because I was like, geez, I actually don't like people pala. but at the same time, I'm also acknowledging that I can't accomplish these things on my own. Right? So the main insight is that if you want to accomplish something that is ambitious and grand and people will really enjoy it, you have to learn how to interact with other people. That's almost a given. That's
So much, Luisa. Anyone would like to add?
Well, for me, I don't. It wasn't part of my JD in terms of organizing events and of this scale as well. But I think as long for us, even in our own team, as long as your intention, motivation for creating something like this is there and it's in the right place, you will definitely find ways to make it happen, right? So despite there might be some gap in terms of your skill set, you learn it. But at the same time, recognizing your weakness as well, we got an event coordinator, right? For example, for those heavy lifting for the logistics part. So it's a combination of both knowing why you're doing events, and then checking internally what do I have as a skill set that I am good at, and partnering with someone who can complement your skill set. No? So yeah, I think none of us were really hired to do events. Interestingly enough, we came out of it learning a lot about events, and even Luis was organizing the tournament. So it was an interesting sight to see. But yeah, everyone just kind of picked up and made sure that we all delivered something that we could be proud of.
Thank you so much, Jen and Luis and Harvey. So I'm not sure if there are questions from our Charlotte.
I guess I could just first off, alright. So first off, thank you for coming to all to this event, and I didn't get a chance to say thank you, but then it really is a privilege to have all of you here in one stage. It's crazy that all the organizers are here, and yeah. So this is more of a fun question. It's just out of curiosity. As the people who organized your events, I'm pretty sure you didn't get to attend as an attendee and enjoy some of the segments, right? So out of just curiosity, what were the segments in your events that you wish you could have attended?
I know Luis's answer.
I missed Appleby Up. Like that was the one thing that everyone was talking about. I had to run to the tournament because that was the opening of our registration day. So I will eternally regret this. And I don't know. Can we get him back next year? I don't know. Like I hope so. Yeah. So yeah, that was I will be eternally regretful.
I knew it.
Ako naman, I missed out some of the food. Pero so far, yun lang, sa food. Kasi, yun, I was one of the speaker and I helped out with one of my developer na technical. Minsan namin nakaproblema pa sa, sa PC niya. Kasi yung laptop niya yung gamit. Pero although, naging smooth naman. Kaya yun, I missed out some of the food. Pero yung lunch, okay naman.
I missed the entire event. The entire month or 2 months, I was there with my team preparing everything. But I would have wanted to listen to the panel on women. So those women founders in blockchain, how they were able to that breaking the glass ceiling. What's the term? Glass ceiling, and how they were able to successfully become CEOs in their own right. So I actually missed that session.
Since you missed that session, I mean, there's another chance for you next week.
Oh yes, next week.
Next week, November 29.
Yes. Actually, we actually got an invitation from next week. But I'm not sure if there's a panel for that. Deal.
Negotiation pa doon naman.
What did I miss? It's a good question. I think I actually caught a portion of it because it was one of the ideas that was pitched to me even before we thought of or when I was pitching the concept of the summit. Yung trading without trading your mental health. Because we knew that a lot of the topics usually in conferences would be very technical or really would just revolve around, especially when you talk about trading, you'll be expecting technical analysis or these kind of things, so like reading the chart, etc. So we thought of, I think, something that's relatable, whether you're a new trader or you've been there since forever. I think, especially with the FTX collapse recently, it's something that you need to be aware of that you'll face. So we invited my good friend Liz, who's a behaviorist, to talk about it with two basically traders. Celeste and what the other guy's name, sorry. But he's also a trader. And then so I was able to catch some parts of it, but I wish I could have watched the whole thing. Because obviously that's something that I need to be aware of. Like, okay, if you lose like 50% of your portfolio already, like how do you deal with that, right? And it's easy to say like, oh, it's okay, it's just money, but it haunts you at night sometimes. So like I plan to actually rewatch it, and part of our plan as well for next year is actually to re-upload some of these sessions into nuggets, so we can upload it on Reels or TikTok, so it's more digestible for people. Because I'm pretty sure no one's gonna watch it for like an hour sitting down and watching it as if it's like a Netflix movie. So we want to cut it into pieces so people can appreciate it. So yeah, for me that's the one I really wish I was able to sit down and fully understand everything, because it wasn't just based from their experiences. There were, because I think Celeste was also like a psychology training trader. So there's that was, I really wish I really wanted to learn more from her, but yeah, didn't have the chance to have go around like I had this training.
Well, baliktad ako. There are some events that I wish I did not go to. Just kidding, joke lang. Because I had to, side events. We hosted a lot of side events. I have to be there because we're hosting. We had there were a couple of days where we had three, 4 side events. Every day I had to attend like 3 or 4. But I think, and then I have to go to hear my students the next day at 9 a.m. But I think in general, the good thing that we did was it was all live stream. So if you missed the panel, you can just watch it. And in terms of key partners or key speakers that we've invited, we have a VIP lounge, so we're able, if these are this particular speaker that I want to talk to is around, I can just make sure that he's here and then I can talk to him about what I want to share with him. I think we knew that we wouldn't be present as during one of the panel during the conference itself. That's why it was also for the community, but also for ourselves, as organizers. That okay, we want to rewind some of the panels that we missed out. But if there's one thing I didn't want to miss out personally in attending in person was Ako Dia, which I did front row seats. It was quite an experience. But yeah, hopefully we'll get another star next year. And si Luis will be singing kasama siya.
Wow.
But yeah, I think in general, wala naman. And it was great to see the community attend side events and stay up until like 4 a.m. every day. And attend tournaments and the guild leaders and our team members. It's all about knowing our attendees, and they were very thankful for that.
Thanks for organizing amazing events, guys. We had fun definitely.
I'm Oscar from Engine, flew in from Singapore, for the Web3 festival. For me, the happiest part about the conference is really was not seeing the speakers, but seeing the teams, and not even the founders, but the actual teams from the Philippine-based projects actually get together in a room, in silo, right? And especially seeing how young a lot of them are. Like, a lot are below 30, quite a few are even below 25. So just seeing that the kind of talent going into Web3, right, still going to the banks, the conglomerates, it's impressive. And in the middle of a bear market, I talked to some of them. They're saying, "Hey, yeah, my friend just joined this project. With Bitcoin at 16K." Like, trying to remember what that was like in 2018. So I just want to ask, where do you think the Philippine talent pool is? You're speaking as somebody who hires for a global project, na several Pinoys. Where's the deep talent? Where are the areas where maybe we need to improve? Where are the segments of expertise where we'll probably have a lot of Pinoys leading some of those segments in global projects.
Okay, so I like your question, sir. Thanks for the question. So according to Chain Analysis 2022 article, I've read that Philippines is number 2 when it comes to crypto adoption. So I think that is the entry for us to get onboarded and have jobs in Web3. But I see more potential in developers. That's why I co-founded Sparkbird with Melissa, since there are a lot of potential developers in Web2 developers in the Philippines that can get onboarded in Web3. So I just nag-bother na ako kasi nakikita tweets na yun, Pinoy agad. Siyempre, ano naman, let's not have that mentality because siyempre, at the end of the day, kababayan tayo, and also we have the potential since we're number 2, and ano pa lang yan, as a consumer, not a developer. And I think we have more potential to overtake because number 1. So, yeah.
From the government perspective. Every year we produce more than 400,000 graduates now, so that's every year. And 75% of those graduates are actually coming from outside of Metro Manila. But the irony is that 75, not really 75, so siguro nasa 60% now are here in Manila. So they come to Metro Manila to look for jobs. So that's basically, I don't know. But in terms of talent, you've been hearing a lot that from the industry saying that while Filipino talents are our greatest competitive advantage, uh, it's also the greatest challenge now because of the lack, the relevance of the graduates that we produce versus the needs of the industry. And that's why the government, together with, of course, I'm talking about Jen and Bethesda, even us. So our mandate also is capacity development, talent development, skilling and reskilling. And we're trying our best that we actually serve the needs of the industry. So one of the initiatives that right now together. So I'm talking. Yes, we're number one in particular the BPO industry. But we're talking here of still the contact center, the voice services in the world. We're number one since 2010. But of course, we have to step up. We want to, develop more higher value segments for these talents to be in those kinds of industries, particularly this better emerging technologies. But yes, that's one of really of the biggest challenge right now is the mismatch between the skills needs by the industry and the graduates that we actually produce. And I know that there's this negative perception, it's not really a perception, but really that we still lack a lot of STEM graduates, science, technology, engineering, and math. And I think we need to produce a lot of those to be able for them to be part of this industry, particularly the emerging tech such as blockchain and Web3.
So I think in terms of talent, you know, the it's quite, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but there's still some room for us to grow, right? Not a lot of talent from a tech engineering standpoint is available in the Philippines, with but we're seeing it improve because of the homegrown companies, Web3 companies that are building here, no? Because obviously a lot of the technical knowledge, the engineering side of things will be coming from other countries because they've gone through, they've been around longer than us, right? Because we're usually a user, right? So from a builder perspective, it's relatively new compared to the industry as a whole, right? But what we're doing, and this is what I've seen other crypto companies, Web3 companies are doing, is that they have like foreign engineers teach local talent. And nothing beats knowledge transfer from an expert and then creating a community or teaching a local engineer how to navigate blockchain or how to build on building Web3, right? So, for example, in our company, our Discord bot developer started he was an SM crew and he graduated IT. We started from scratch. And then we invited one of our engineers from India to teach him the ropes, right? And now he can build products on his own. And then he then started off teaching other of his friends how to code. So you see that happen time and time again. Over time, hopefully the ecosystem evolves. So I think knowledge transfer is important. If you look at Ready Talent, I'm not gonna name the company, but there's this company that a lot of the engineers now working in blockchain originated from that back. So a lot more talent. Peter came from our founder, worked for that back before as well. So they really started it. So they had a project with Consensus, and Consensus brought in the engineers, and then they taught our local engineers how to do it. And we see that cycle happen again, right? So foreign talent visits the Philippines and then they teach us our engineers on how to develop. So we're not yet there in terms of the number of potential developers that we can hire. The talent pool is still really small. But what's interesting is foreign companies are visiting the Philippines because they know that the user base is here, and by extension, they train local people on how to go. So, it's a trend. We have like a couple of developers who's been around and just teaching local communities. So, hopefully, but yeah, we're not yet there.
Luis, would you like to add anything?
So I mean, I think that's a really great assessment of the situation. I think the only thing I'll mention there is that, Web3 is many components, and the developers is one, of course, and that's a critical one. But we also need community managers. You need people who are actually creating content. You need NFT artists, all of those things. So I think maybe in those other things we're a little bit more competitive because those are more soft skills. I think we're pretty good at managing people, just generally, because of, I don't know, you could argue that we are more hospitable than other races, but I feel like that's kind of that's neither here nor there. I think we just happen to be predisposed to chatting on Discord. And that's fine, right? I mean, I think that those components of the Web3 ecosystem are just as important sometimes because those are the people that amplify the message. I think in terms of NFT art, we're not terrible at it. I think we're pretty good at it. I think our esports are unequivocally some of the best in the world, right? So there's that also. If we wanted to be really, really competitive at Web3 games like Axie Infinity, I don't think it would be difficult to do that. Right? Because we've got some of the best Dota players in the world here. So parang that I feel like those things are already kind of in that direction. We just need more, right? We just need more games like Axie Infinity that you can play at a very deeply competitive level. You need more of those tournaments where the rewards are enough that you would actually want to switch from Valorant or Dota or whatever that you're playing, right? And just be Axie full time. Because like if you're competing for 700 pesos all the time, you're gonna draw that talent regardless. But like of course they will, because they don't have to fly to Singapore or the States in order to compete for that much money. All they have to do is take an AMTAS to Circuit Makati. So that kind of availability is what kind of makes this stuff really sing. So we'll see, but I actually think that a lot of this stuff will happen organically. We just need to have more brands and platforms be willing to make bets here in the Philippines. So that's what we're trying to do this year, right? And I think that with every year that we continue to do this, with every year that there are these small successes like the festival and these other events, more and more of those bets will just come in. So I feel like these years are just gonna be like it's gonna be uphill for uptrending for us. So I'm looking forward.
Thank you so much, Luis, and thank you everyone. And like what you mentioned, Jen, about the knowledge transfer, no? And I'm sure the events that have happened have contributed to that knowledge transfer now and also in the future. So one of the questions, do we have time? Okay, so
Final remarks na.
yeah, I guess we go with final remarks from each and every one of you guys. Again, congratulations and thank you for organizing those particular events. Final words and key takeaways.
First of all, thank you, Paper Startup House and Bitpinas for organizing this event. Actually, pauwi na sana ako kasi nag-attend ako ng PH Web3 Fest. And syempre, bear market, nagtitipid, may set pass ako. Nakabook ako, then dapat 1 week before. So, apparently, yung flight ko is on Saturday. Good thing, nag-chat si Sir. And if may available sa team namin na Bicol, ako na lang yung hindi pa nakakauwi. And nandiyan din si Bulbs. So, buti na lang. Yun, naka-catch up ka dito sa event. And yun, thank you din to Sir Luis, Sir Christopher, Emmy, and Jen for being my co-panel dito sa event. So, and also sa nag-attend IRL and sa nanonood URL. Yeah.
So first of all, thanks to Bitpinas Mike and Super House. Of course, Lance. Si Lance kasi matagal na kaming partner niya because we've been working with him dun sa Space Challenge, diba? So Cholo from Super House, thank you so much. It's really good to see everyone here because I missed a lot of events I missed your festival because it was ASEC, my ASEC Jeff who attended. I was with Seng in another event, in another industry event. So what we'd like to say is that my team here, we're always ready now to work with you. Would like the ICT to be your partner, to be your enabler. We'd like to be as your relevant partner in all the things that you do. How we can actually help promote, develop, sustain, grow the industry. Let us know kung ano yung kailangan pang tulong. Just here, no? Just let us know. But of course, we'll continue the conversation because I think in the next few weeks then, we'd like to invite everyone, particularly you met Yusek Giselle, di ba, in the Global Blockchain Summit. So we'd like to call to invite everyone on how we can actually help further the industry and building on that statement of solidarity that you've signed during the Global Blockchain Summit. So yeah, we're just here to support the industry. Thank you.
I guess for Web3PH and Web3PH Summit, last word is just really inviting you guys to join the community. Some of the questions earlier I wish I would have answered, like if you want to organize events and you don't know how to do so, volunteer. That's a way to learn. Talent is everywhere. A lot of our volunteers are actually not from Manila. Some of them are from Cebu, Rain, for example, which I think is very active in Cebu. We also have even as far as like Korea, volunteering is just Filipina. And so we also like to invite people to share opportunities because there's tons of talent that wants to be employed and web and just be given a chance, like what Jen mentioned earlier, from an SM crew to becoming a developer in a Web3 company. I think there's more of those opportunities that by volunteering we're able to provide you the right experience and connect to the right people, and hopefully that gives more opportunities to others. And hopefully, when you are able to land a great job or an opportunity, that you're able to share that to someone else. That's really the vision for the community. Is not just joining a community or a Facebook group or a chat group and that's it. It's about you applying it and then later on passing it on to the next person. Because I think all of us, at least for me, because I've been in digital for quite some time, I learned from other people. I learned from school, I learned it from mentors, people who are willing to share. And so that's kind of also the culture that we want to cultivate in our community. So I hope you guys will join our
Recording answer. Yeah, I put up one of the questions on Facebook. No, I think this is a good key takeaway that at the end that especially this week, one of the biggest issue was the madami daw po sa Pilipinas. Tinagalog ko na lang. But what do you say to that? Maybe incorporate that.
Okay, wow. That was kind of the polar opposite of what I was about to say. So I'm gonna observe that it's Thanksgiving Day today, and we should be appreciating that we're all still here, guys. Like it was a tough year, but we made it, right? We made it, and we're ending it on a high note. Regarding that rug pull thing, like, oh, what a strange one to kind of put on. People just say dumb things on Twitter. Right? That's it. Like, I can't even like. I saw it and I was like, I'm not even gonna respond to this. It was just so dumb. I was like, to generalize that about every Filipino crypto project is so uninformed. And anyway, so I don't want to end on that. I wanted to end on the Thanksgiving part. Just again, appreciate the fact that 2022 was kind of a downhill year for the crypto industry, and yet we're all still here, and we ended with a bunch of really kick-ass events, guys. So we're gonna.
Yeah, just so I think there's more to come in terms of the development of the Philippine ecosystem for in Web3. Seeing that the attention is now on us, and we have to make the most out of it. It's our chance to lead Web3, and because we have all of the right ingredients, right? So for us, we're community builders. and we'd like to create that ecosystem where we all grow together. So the pie is still relatively small, and we should all be working with each other and growing, not fighting for that 1%, but making it like make the life bigger for everyone. So happy to see that government is actively helping and opening the discussions on regulatory standpoint, and even encouraging us to have an association such that we represent the projects whenever we have a policy discussion. The providers of capital as well. A lot of VCs visited the Philippines because they're trying to find projects that they could support and fund. And for us, right, events organizers, and also projects like YGG, blockchain space. A lot of them started in the Philippines, and they're getting global recognition. So hopefully we take center stage in Web3.
The events are not yet over. Next week in Philippine country.
Picture.
And then a lot of events there. And for sure our next year Beacon Year Stars is all about that. So yeah, thank you so much.
Picture. Okay, ano, ay, na nakaharap. Okay, tama ka, ako kukuha ng picture mo. Ako naman ha. Dito smile. Okay, may tapa ha. May tapa. Again, dito smile. Parang nag-clear yung dito smile. May nag-clear. May nag-clear. Okay. Ay, ito mo Hi ko. Michael nawala. Teka lang. Ikat ko na. Harvey!